Hey everybody, welcome back. For those of you that joined me this morning, thank you for tuning in for one more PD session. I can imagine you're exhausted. I know I am. But with that being said, I realize just like this morning, it's a lot of information to get through. And with that being said, I already have a recorded version from this morning where I was able to get more in depth with some of the tools. I almost have that ready to post on my channel, so you can look for that hopefully by the end today, if you would like to refer to any of the blended learning tools that I went over this morning. Of course, you're here now because we're going to go over PearDeck, and this will be pretty much exclusively about how to use PearDeck. It is going to be a beginner level surface understanding of PearDeck, and I imagine, just like other PD that we've offered throughout this time, that there will be an opportunity for deeper conversations about it once everyone gets started. But I really am just starting at the very beginning, like you haven't even made an account yet, you barely even know what it is. Okay. And I'll say that as someone who prior to the pandemic didn't really even know too much about PearDeck. I'd heard of it. I knew it was a Google Slides add-on, but I've tried to get myself up to speed as much as I can to be able to talk to you about it today. And we will go from here. So let's get started on PearDeck. Just like before, if you were with me this morning, I do have a Q&A question URL up. And I would like to also let the people know who were in my session from this morning. I would like to apologize that I did not realize when I came out of the session, came back, and I lost a bunch of questions, and I didn't mean to ignore them. It just didn't work out. So if you had a question that was not answered, please don't feel like you are ignored. You can still use this opportunity, since I'm here live with you, to use the Q&A, and I will not navigate out of it like I did the first time. I also anticipate that I will wrap this session up a little earlier. One, because it's the end of the day, and I understand how much you've been sitting through our PD sessions, and I hope you've been getting a lot of great information, but I also understand it can be overwhelming, and I want to give you time to digest that. But also I do want to give more time for Q&A in relation to the blended learning tools I gave this morning, and then also PearDeck now. So you can expect that we will conclude a little earlier this time. So with that being said, moving on. I mean, do you even PearDeck, bro? I mean, I'll tell you, I don't yet. I haven't had the opportunity to actually implement this with students. So as you know, my role is not in a traditional teacher role. I am a certified IT person. So with that, I'm very interested. I tend to do a lot of research. Instructional technology is something I'm really passionate about. But I will tell you that I have not yet had my own opportunity to implement this yet. We just got the paid license over the summer. I think it only came out for us, accessible for us in the last week or so, this paid version. So unless you were like a world language person who had access with your department, I forget, there might've been one other department that had a paid account prior to this, but now we all have paid accounts, and I'm just getting in there for the first time. And I've only really had interaction with myself as a teacher instructor in there. So that's where I think it's going to be good that I can give you the very beginning. I worked myself around and clunked through a lot of this myself in the last day or two. But there will likely be questions you have as you get further into it. And I can tell you from being on PearDeck's website, they have a lot of really great videos, like high quality, super short, answer your questions kind of video content. So as you get started, if you are looking for a fast answer to things, definitely check out their website. It's super helpful. There are also other people in the district who are already using this and doing a great job. Tracy Latshaw is one of the other people who is presenting PearDeck today. I think even Gavin McNeil. And I know we have a recording of that on my YouTube channel already, so you can reference that as well. So having that said, we will get started, like I said, at a beginner level. So you've heard this term a lot, asynchronous and synchronous. At this point, you've had that expectations for virtual teaching and learning. And what used to be like a master's degree instructional technology word is now becoming one of our, new words for rigor. It's like a new vocabulary term. But just to make sure you do understand, there is a difference between asynchronous and synchronous. Asynchronous is that the student is working at their own pace. Perhaps you made some video content, or in this case, you will make a Google slideshow that is has interactive features in it. Maybe if another example would be like if you took an Edpuzzle video and you put questions in there, you're not really there guiding them in live time. They're interacting with something in their own speed. Where the synchronous would be that you are live, that you are offering, live feedback, even though technically we're watching this through a live stream versus a Google Meet. Technically, this is still synchronous. I'm still here at the high school upstairs viewing and offering this to you live and in person, and I can take your questions and things like that. So that's really the difference between synchronous and asynchronous. And as you come to realize, asynchronous will be mostly on Mondays, and then Tuesday through Friday will be synchronous. Going into when we move into the hybrid schedule, it's gonna be a little more fluid, who is synchronous and asynchronous at different times. But I'm just looking at this from, we're starting out remote, and then you can move into that hybrid mentality when we get to that point. Let's not overwhelm ourselves. We're just all starting remote. We're all starting at the same place. So I'm going to be concentrating more on the synchronous aspects of this for now. And then you on your own, when you are ready and have time, can look into the asynchronous part. So there are multiple levels with the student view, the teacher view, the classroom view. When you actually get back in the classroom, you can still use PearDeck. It's a blended learning tool that you can have interactive, that the students are looking at your projector, and then if you have Chromebooks in your classroom, they're able to interact on the Chromebook, and you can see live what they're responding, and if they're responding, if they're not responding, you can kind of actually physically go up and walk up to them and check on their progress. So there's multiple views depending on the application. You can imagine that right now the class view is not something that you are doing physically in a class. Instead, you're going to be seeing it more in that student view and teacher view for right now. As I mentioned, Tracy Latshaw is like one of the people who has been doing this for a while, and she herself will log in both as a teacher on like a laptop device, and then also look at her presentation as a student on her phone. That way she can see exactly what's going on with the presentation and what her students see, in addition to that teacher view, because it can be a little confusing, and you found this out too, I'm sure, with Google Meet, that you're not always seeing what the kids see. So it's helpful to have yourself logged in as a student on your own device. So here's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to actually show you what some of these slides look like, and then I'm going to actually go on to PearDeck's site and have it be that interactive feature. But I did just want to go through what some of these template slides are first, because they do have a bunch of templates already made. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Some of them are great, and you can just change some of the language, and the template's already made. I will show you too that you can customize it as well. Excuse me. So one of the questions could be, how familiar are you with PearDeck? And you could rate yourself on a scale of like, you're really familiar with it on one end, and the other side, you have no idea what I'm talking about, never even heard the word before. You could post this for your classroom. So I will show you what that looks like in a little bit. But that interactive, the students would be able to, on their device, log on that on this as a live session, a synchronous session, and all of them would be able to post how familiar they are with PearDeck. And how it works. So they can use a phone, they can use a laptop, desktop. Keep in mind, if you're going to do the synchronous idea that you're in a Google Meet and you're presenting this to them, it's generally a better application to have them be on a Chromebook, desktop, laptop, because if you want them to be able to hear you and be active in the Meet, it's difficult to do that on a phone device and still interact with the PearDeck. At least as far as what I can tell right now, there may be people who already are familiar with this and have workarounds, but without having students to be able to actually interact yet, that's sort of what I've picked up on from reading so far. You can also have open-ended questions. So that was like a quick poll that you could have, but you can actually have short responses that they you can ask them, what kind of interactive tools have you used? Like if we're in a professional development setting, maybe I'd like to know that you've used Edpuzzle or you've used Nearpod, which Nearpod's very similar if you have experience with Nearpod. And you'll be able to see on the teacher side what their responses are in real time. And you can choose to show the class what everyone's responses are or highlight certain responses, or you can just choose to collect that information and then gauge if you want to follow up individually. It doesn't have to be public for all the students to see the responses. You can just interact as you need to with the students who may need help. So when you're in and connecting with PearDeck, like I said, we do have a paid account now. So what you'll end up doing is you'll end up going to PearDeck's website, which I'll navigate to in just a minute. And when you put in your EHT login, it's going to automatically detect that we have a paid account, and it'll tell you that you are very fancy. That's exactly what it told me. I was very fancy. And then once you're in there, you can go through the next step of attaching your Google Classroom to it should you want to go that direction. PearDeck does offer a little flexibility if you want to just try it for a one-time thing. Like you don't want to get into really deep, like formative assessments and stuff like that. If you just want to like have a one-time poll, you can just share this code, like a code related to PearDeck, and be very fast. Have that information, get the information you need, and then you don't have to go into Google Classroom and go really deep into it. Of course, the benefit of PearDeck is that you can get tracking information that you would be able to identify, where your class is overall. If they're struggling with a certain problem, you can kind of see that across the board and then maybe address it at that point. But it really is very flexible. The fact that you can do synchronous and synchronous with it, just implies that you really could do a lot with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this tab instead. And this is the PearDeck website for Google Slides. I should say, if I didn't make this clear already, the idea behind PearDeck is you're using Google Slides, not PowerPoint, Google Slides. So if you're not already in the Google world, now's your opportunity to join me. And at this point, we've been using Google Classroom for several months, even if you are a new K-3 educator not really using Classroom prior to the pandemic, we all are now. So you know that Google Slides works well with Google Classroom, and it also works well with PearDeck. So if you have old PowerPoints that you want to bring into Google Slides, you can do that. You can upload to your Google Drive and convert them. Sometimes the translation's not always great, but you can make those adjustments. At least you're not starting from scratch. The other benefit too is that once it's in there as a slideshow, you can share it to multiple classes. You can share amongst your PLC and have other people have access to it. And then you'll see with PearDeck, there's actually a lot more options to offer interactive features that you would be really limited to if you stuck with just PowerPoint. So join the wave. Come with me. Now I'm going to do the teacher login, and keep in mind, I already have an account. I already went as far as like signing up. But even though you will be brand new in here, you're going to have to hit login with Google. You're technically, that's what you're doing. Even though you're thinking you're making a new account, that's technically what you're doing. So you need to hit login with Google, and you will have to make sure you're using your EHT account. And like I said, when you're in here, it will be fancy and tell you you're fancy. I even have a crown. That's literally how special I am, is I have a crown on my little avatar thingy. I can tell you that when I did sign up for the account, it double checks and sends you an email to verify it's you, because since you are getting into a paid account, it does want to verify that you're using an actual EHT email address. So you'll just have to do that one extra step. I got a question on specials. Will they be able to share PearDeck to classroom teacher pages? Since my understanding is initially we won't have our own classrooms. That is a good question. I don't have the answer to that right now because I don't know the flow, and I know it ranges from, I'm located at the high school, so I'm a little more familiar with the strategies we're using up here compared to what you're doing at the elementary level. But I would say that PearDeck, you'll end up, it depends how far you're using it. So if you're using it for like that one-time gauge kind of thing, you won't have to go that far. It's just you're not linking it to Google Classroom yet. So you're going to miss this step that I'm about to go over. Eventually, if and when you end up having your own Google Classrooms as a specialist teacher, then you can link your classroom and actually do the assignments that way. But you're not really going to miss anything if you don't have the classroom component. You'll just share the code with them. They can get right onto the website, type in the short code, and be able to interact with your slides. So I hope that answers it, sort of. So now that I'm in here, and you can see I'm on a premium account and I rule, right? So just in case you need one more verification that you're awesome, it did tell you so. I do have the fact I can present from anything on my Google Drive, and you can see I actually have my slideshow that I'm using right now is technically in progress. Like it actually is ready to go for this interactive feature. And you'll see that there are different views like that classroom mode and the interactive, be able to see the teacher dashboard view. So this is the teacher dashboard, and you can see there's a join code right now. So if you want to try this, you would go to this website. So that is joinpd.com. If you want to try this on a new tab, joinpd.com. And then you're going to put in the digit code QLACH. I will give a couple of seconds for anybody who might want to come in and try this. And as I mentioned too, if you were the teacher, I would recommend that you would then go on your own device, like a smartphone, and type this in and see what the students are seeing. Because as the teacher, you are guiding the slides. They are interacting with them depending what you have up on your screen. It's going to automatically push for them. So this is a little different, but you'll get used to how this works once you actually are in here. And you may decide amongst your PLC that you want to try this amongst each other and see how it works. And I would recommend that. Definitely give it a try before you present it with your students, because it will take some getting used to. It's not as native as some of the other Google Classroom Enterprise type of things. But once you understand how it works, it does make more sense. So that is QLACH. Oh, I have a lot of students. I already got 33. Look at you guys. What active participants you are. I love you. I love elementary people. They actually do things. Thanks. So I'm going to close out of this code now because I have almost 50 people in here. So thank you again. And you're going to see that as I move to different slides, you're going to have interactive options with it. So if I were to skip like this asynchronous slide, if you are participating as a student, you are now going to be looking at it as an asynchronous, or you're going to be looking at the asynchronous slide along with me. It automatically pushes for you to follow along on that same slide. So remember, that's where I said you're definitely going to need to see what the kids are seeing. It's going to be helpful if you have another tab open or another device to be able to follow along to make sure that everything you're communicating is coming across the way you want. So if I were to go to this slide of how familiar are you with PearDeck, you can see that people are already starting to reply. And most of the indicators that you can see on my screen are off to the side. I do have a couple on the green side, but there's certainly looks to me more red. And as it populates, you'll see more of that happening. But it's pretty cool to be able to see and click and drag around. It adds a nice interactive feature. I think especially at the elementary level, you guys are going to like this. Now, I will show you there are some more elementary friendly type of template slides in here. So once I have everybody set up and the responses are in here, I'll move ahead to the next slide. But you can see out of the 60 students I currently have in here, 52 have already responded. So I'll give that another second to click around and populate. And I think you can still see this tab, although I know it's a little bit delayed. Right now, I'm actually able to see all the students that are in here. And there's also a mood icon, which is part of the paid version of PearDeck, that the student can communicate to you how they're feeling today without actually making it a public thing. So if they're really having a bad day and they don't want to make it a known thing to all the rest of the kids in their class, but they want you to know that they're really having a rough day, they can change their mood to indicate that, and you would be able to, take that into consideration. A little social emotional component in there. Something to know. All right, so with that, I can show responses. And you, as the student, if you're watching on that extra device, should be able to see the exact screen I have that I shared it with everybody. Again, you don't have to share. This is me showing you as the teacher view that I was able to push that to you as a student, but that is an available option should you want to use that. So let's try this question instead. What kind of interactive tools have you tried? Let me know what you think there. Starting to get a couple responses. Things are coming in. I can actually see you typing. That's pretty cool. like I said, I haven't actually had any live people in here yet, so this has been fun. We got some Ed puzzles, some Google Slides, quizzes, Flipgrid. Flipgrid's cool. All right. Nice, nice. And same thing. I can, at this point, I have 19 responses, but I'll go ahead and just show you. These are the responses I have. Jamboard. Boom cards. Haven't heard of that one. But pretty cool, right? And as I mentioned, you don't have to present this. You can just keep it for your own records and kind of use it as a gauge of how you want to continue your lesson depending on what the student responses are. Now I'm going to skip this for right this second, but I did want to show you some elementary happy templates. So you can give this a try and fill out the letters, fill in the missing letter, let the kids practice. If you're on a device that you can handwrite, you can either use your mouse, or if you can, like, you're using your phone or something, you should be able to draw in the letter A. Did I just give the answer away? Maybe I did. Now, if you're looking at my screen, you can see I could check to see how their handwriting is even in this. And I can see it in real time too. At any point, I'd be able to see not only the responses, but also check to see which students are not responding. And that might be like a little indicator of the ones I might want to, call out, see how they're doing, ask if they have any questions or things like that. Let's try a math problem. This time you're going to click and drag what equation component you need to do in order for the math problem to make sense. We got some smart teachers out there. And you can see on my screen, it can look a little overwhelming because I have so many people responding. If you're looking at this from a student view, they're only going to see their own responses. But the nice thing about PearDeck is that a lot of what they're doing is color coded, that you can actually get an idea. If you're back to me looking at my screen, I can see the majority of people are indicating that the plus sign is for the first answer, the minus sign for the second, and an equal sign for the last one. So that would be a quick way to check for understanding, to get a general idea if the students, are getting the problem. And then I could follow up if I needed to. If it looked like a lot of students are answering it correctly, maybe I might want to revisit or re-explain how that works. This one is drag the flag to your state. All right, let's try another one. How about label the clock? Let's make it 1:30. Now, what I cannot see is that you should have access to change the colors, but that would be on the student view. That's, again, coming back to one of the limitations of the teacher view versus student view. It can be a little hard to tell what they have access to unless you have another tab or another device open. And, all right. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. Now, this would be if you have older students, like you probably would want to change some of the language here, but I had it universal because I wanted to be able to show a wide range of how PearDeck can be used. But you could talk about identify the setting of your story. Who are the main characters? What's the problem in the story? Like you could, and again, a lot of this is customizable. You don't have to use those exact words, but those are some examples of things that you can use. And you should be able to like draw pictures or write in there there's a variety of different options of how you can interact with this. The question of, are these preloaded in my slides I'm using? Yes. So what I had to do is, and I will show you in just another minute, I had to make all of these slides ahead of time in my Google Slides in order for you to be able to access and be able to use these now. All right. I'm going to go through these next ones pretty quickly because I think from they're a little higher up than elementary level, just generally speaking. So I think oh, my screen is moving faster. Sorry, Mike Sweeter just let me know that my stream is moving faster than me talking. So I apologize if you're watching the stream and my motion's moving too quickly. I didn't realize that. Good to know, though. Important. I'm probably about 15 seconds talking behind or one way or the other, depending how it's watching. So you may want to keep that in mind when your students are interacting with you. But these next slides I will go through quickly because I just want to show you, you don't have to interact with them. But you got like what the big question is. This be like a good social studies or just an open-ended response. And you can make that whatever question you want. It's just a template. Another one would be for science, draw an atom and label what it is, which atom it should look like. If you are in foreign language teacher, that would be like click and drag words. You can, and it doesn't have to be, you know, this is example is for foreign language in Spanish, but you could do it in English the same way. Moving on, we have activities, and this would be like an exit ticket of like things that they liked, things they didn't like, what do they need more help with? And that's something that they could write to you and you can just reflect on after they close out of the meet session, or maybe follow up with those students during that small group time, something like that. Within the paid version, now I'm gonna navigate away from the teacher view right now, so I can go back to my slides and show you how I made these. But I am keeping this up if you would like to still have this tab open, and I'm going to go present back on my slideshow now. So sharing this tab instead. And I'm going to exit. So I'm not going to see any Q&As that come in for a few minutes. But before I do that, does this only record responses if you're doing it live, or we could do it as an assignment for homework? That is a great question. So if you have it set up to do asynchronous, which you would have, like that's another toggle, then you could assign this as homework that they interact with. I'm not going to have enough time to deeply dive into the whole asynchronous aspect, but once you get around, you play with it, and then you watch some of those video tutorials, you'll be able to see that it's very easy to make those assignments. And you could even make it for specific students, like maybe the ones that were not live with you in class. You can offer that asynchronous option to those that were not able to attend, but you still want them to interact with the work. And the temples are super easy. That was a question that Wendy just sent in. They feel just like a Google slide. Like if you've used Google Slides at all, or if you're more comfortable with PowerPoint up until now, a lot of it's just text that you're changing. And then if you decide you want something completely custom, you do have the option to do that as well. All right, so now I'm going to go away from I'm not going to be able to see the Q&A for a little bit in order to go back to this. So keep that in mind, and I will answer any other questions when I come back. So let's see here. I'm going to share this tab instead. This is my super cool presentation from earlier. I thought we would just revisit it because it was wonderful. And I'm going to make a new slide here. And now I do believe that this, I know I covered it very fast this morning, but I think it was already explained. In order to have PearDeck work in Google Slides, you're going to have to install it as an add-on. I already have it here because you can see it's PearDeck add-on for slides. But if you don't have it right now, you'll have to go into Get Add-ons, find PearDeck, install it, and then get it to start working. So the fact I already have it, I'm just going to skip past that step. You'll have to revisit this video if you need me to walk through that again. But PearDeck add-on, I'm going to open it. And within a few seconds, you'll see that I have options here. And the template library is where I got all of those examples I just showed you. I didn't do anything fancy to them. I just stuck them in there, changed out a couple words, and presented it the way that you saw it. So I would go into template library, and depending on the kind of questions I want to have is, the options that are here. So you can see if I wanted to scroll down and do a math one, I click on math, and these are all sample template math questions. Like here's a number line when it comes up. And you could tell them label -1. You're probably doing more like actual 1, but you get the idea. And if you wanted to change out these numbers, like maybe you might want to make this 0.5, 1, 1.5. It's just as easy as clicking in the area and typing. It's not any more complicated than that. In fact, that's kind of why it's super nice that you don't have to come up with your own thing every single time. Let me try making another slide here. So you can have it that, let's pick an ELA question. And then it says, drag the dots to the nouns. So you can make these words whatever words you want. I mean, it's got sample text in here, or you could say do the verb or do the adjective or whatever would make sense for you. And the students would then have the icons and they'd be able to drag and underline the words according to your prompt. And there are a ton in here. Like it would take me way too long to go through all of them. But you can also see they also have it categorized. Like you want something at the beginning of the lesson, like a do now, or if you want to check for understanding halfway through, or if you want an exit ticket, they have them all categorized. And these are all templates already made. If you decide that you want to make something from scratch, though, they are available here. And in that case, this is what I did with, let me go back here. Share this tab instead. So in my original slideshow I made, this is technically a custom slide. And you could see the students would write their responses based on how I designed this slide. And there would be a text response. You could have it be that they have to write a number or choose a number or slide underneath of something. Like you can make the slide look any way you want. You would just choose which kind of response they're supposed to have. And that's what you would select on that right-hand side of that PearDeck that I had there. So if I were to show you from here, PearDeck add-on, open. It does take a couple seconds for it to load, but you can offer choices, a choice question. You can have them look at a website. Those are all options in here. One other thing about having the paid account is you can add audio. So going back to if you're having them do it asynchronously, that they're doing this independently, you can add your own sound to let them hear your voice explain a problem or go into more detail or something like that. And you would just have to choose a slide you want it to be on, maybe this one, click add audio to slide, and you'll have to have it detect your microphone. Then you would allow it, and then you would just record your message, however you would walk them through that prompt, or have them think critically about a certain issue or a problem and be able to write a text response, whatever that might look like, but you are limited to just audio. There won't be video, it would be just audio. You hit pause, and then you would save it, delete it, whatever you might need to do. Hit save, add to slide. This does take a couple seconds. And then that link is in that slide for them to be able to access later. So I believe the only other thing I did not go over that I wanted to make sure I covered is if I go back to, I'm actually going to stop this right now. And oh, did the wrong thing. Hold on, let me do the screen again. My bad. Presentation session, share. I'm going to end this. And if now that I'm ending the session, I may still want to go back and make manual grades. I could name this session. So I would name this PD PLD 2 PearDeck. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . And then what's going to happen is this is going to actually end up in your Google account. Sure. Turn home. Okay. So under my account and the settings area, so I went through that pretty fast. I'll do that again. I went to my account up here at the top. I went to settings, and then you have the option to slide on Google Classroom. And then this would be a quick way that you can push the information for the students to be able to access it if you're not doing it live in a Google Meet, or if you were going to be doing it asynchronously. So now that I've gone through all of that, the only other thing I was going to show you for the slides today is something that's come up a few times, not always related to PearDeck because this is new to me, but just being able to see your students on the screen at the same time you're presenting. Like right now, it's not worth me doing this because there's no one for me to see. But if we were in an actual Google Meet and you know, we were talking and want to be able to see their faces and see if they're paying attention while I'm doing a slideshow, there's kind of two ways you can do it. In all cases, I recommend you use Google Chrome because, as I've told you in probably other workshops you may have sat in on mine, Google Chrome is designed to work with Google Classroom. It's designed to work with Google Meet. In order for you to play music and video, as you found out this morning, it needs to be in a Google Chrome tab. So there's several reasons why you want to be in Chrome anyway. But what you can kind of sort of do this in two ways. You look in my screen, and what I'm going to do is go and present my full screen again. So give me 1 second while I switch out. Share. And I'm gonna say the caveat to this is it really depends on what device you're on, if this is practical or not. If you're on a computer or a regular laptop, this next step is super easy. Chromebook, it's not hard, but it might be a little more difficult. This is not going to work if you are on a iPad or another tablet or a phone or something. This what I'm showing you right now is only for being in front of more of a computer type of device. So you can see I have multiple tabs up here right now, one of which is my Meet link. No one's here except for me. It's really lonely place out here. There's no one to talk to. But you can see I have my Meet link, and I also have my slideshow. Now, if I wanted to, I can click and drag, separate this tab, make my own window over here, and I can shrink it. And then I can do the same thing over here with my Meet and shrink it. And it seems super simple, and you probably have done this before, but I think you'd be surprised how helpful that little trick is, because then I could be talking to my class over here and be able to do my PearDeck or my slideshow over here and still be able to do my presentation and everything like that. Talking about what I did this morning with the Q&A, for those of you that sat in on that, and I could click on that presenter view. So not talking PearDeck, but just a regular Google slide. If I click on presenter view, I now can have my students visually here. I could have my Q&A audience tools here. So I'm going to actually bring that back up. Continue. Could have this up here, be able to answer questions and things like that, and then be able to go and advance my slideshow, and I have everything I need all on one screen. If you're using a Chromebook and that's not as practical for you, because like I said, it's not impossible. It might be a little harder to click and drag. There is an add-on for Chrome. It's called Dualist. It's something that you can install and then have it that it automatically adjusts that it's fitting multiple screens in at one time. So that would be like, by one click, you saw how quickly that happened. Now I have a big version of my slideshow over here and a mini version of my Google Meet over here. And that was only by referencing one of these. If I wanted to flip it, that was the 3x7. Now my slide is smaller and my class is larger. And that works in anything related to Google Chrome. So that'll be laptop, desktop, Chromebook. That is accessible to you. And remember, that is going to be something you would find in the Chrome Web Store. So if you want to have that installed, that you can have that nice quick and easy click around, that would be something that you would install on your Chrome, logged in with your school Google account, and then you'd have access to it at any time. So now I'm at 50-50, and you can see that was much faster and easier than the first way I demonstrated to you. With the time we have left, I did say I wanted to wrap this up a little faster, do some more actual Q&A. So I'm going to find my Q&A window. I'm going to leave this up on the screen and just go back to a regular presentation mode. Chrome tab, of course, and my PearDeck slides. So now you're seeing it in the same view that you've been seeing it this entire time. But if you do have questions, I will still have the chat window open. Again, that was called Dual List. I have that up on the screen right now if you want to look at it and Google that for your Chrome extension. That's Dual List. And I will leave the chat window up if anyone else has any other questions on PearDeck or any of the blended learning tools that I went over this morning. If you have anything on that came to your head that I didn't get to answer this morning because it got thrown away, you can ask that now. And again, for Megan, that the answer to that is this dual list. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but it's dual and less is what you would look for in the Google Chrome Web Store. So if you go to google.com, you look up Chrome Web Store, then you would find that. Now, remember, too, you have to be in Google Chrome. If you're trying to do this in Internet Explorer or in Safari, it's not going to get you anywhere. You have to be in Google Chrome for it to work. All right. I will hang out for another couple more minutes, but for those of you who had enough today, thank you again for being in all the PD sessions. As you know, as someone who's on the PD committee, we were hoping to cover a lot. I know it was a lot. But I think that knowing that you'll be able to go back and reference these videos when we publish them, and that you at least got a very quick survey of everything so you know what's available to you, and then you can go back and talk with your PLCs or people in your teams and departments to get a little bit more of actual practice with some of these tools. You will be more comfortable with them when you actually have a chance to play with them, and I understand that. So certainly if there's anything I can do to help while you're navigating it, you all have my email address as posted again for those that needed it, or my extension. Sometimes it's easier to get a hold of me via email. I tend to be one of those people that check my email all the time, even when I shouldn't. So if you want to get a hold of me, and if I don't answer a question now during the Q&A and you have something later, I will be going through all the emails I received today and responding in the next day or so as I have time. So with that being said, I'm leaving the Q&A open a couple more minutes. This was something asked this morning. Can you annotate Google Meet? I know you were able to annotate right on a shared screen during a live session. So Laura, I think the solution to that would probably be Jamboard. That would probably be the closest thing. If you're not already familiar with Jamboard, that is now integrated with Google Meet, and it's like an interactive whiteboard you can have with your students. It only just became available, or rather it may only be available like this week. It's like that kind of brand new. I haven't actually tried to find it yet if it is on there, but that was one of the good things of what came out in that recent rollout with Google Updates. So you will have that option to be able to interact with that. We have to get in with a code, or does email get us in? Wendy, it depends on what you're interacting as. If you're interacting as a student, usually would need the code to participate. Otherwise, as far as emailing it, I don't know if you could email a PearDeck. I don't know if I probably didn't answer your question, but maybe if you want to give me more details of what you're asking, I might be able to answer better. Do you have an option to choose Google Classroom? You save PearDeck slides, or does PearDeck align only to one classroom? So the slide itself is going to be in your Google Drive. Whatever you make in there, you can organize it however you want. It's not specific to one particular classroom. You would just decide to publish it to whatever classrooms you have. So if you're using the same code, or you're using a new code every time, the slide itself is separate from the Google Classroom. When student selects an appointment time on Google Calendar, can other students see who signed up, or is that slot no longer available? That is a good question, Lauren, and that actually came up this morning in the high school session as well. I haven't had a chance to double check that. I do know that it's possible that the student does not have to give their name in the title session. I don't know for sure if the other students would be able to see that if the kid decided to leave the name up there. That might be one of those things I have to go back and actually see for myself because I don't have the answer off the top of my head. Can you quickly review how a student gets into Interactor slide part once I share my PearDeck slides? So that would be that they would have to go to that joinpd.com website and they would put in the 5-digit code for that session. That is how they would be in that interactive feature. Just to show you again what that would be, let me hit something real fast before I switch over. 1 second. So I'm going to be logged in as a teacher. And I'm going to go to the one I already had up. And I'm going to share this tab instead. So you'll see this is based on the fact I made the slide already and it was already accessible. If you just recently updated a slide, PearDeck will know and be able to bring it up for you, or you can just go to your drive down here, say open drive, and go find, whether it's in your drive or a shared drive, it should navigate to some of your more recent presentations. But I will go ahead with the one I already have in progress. And then I would start the live session. So I would hit start live session. And then I would choose the kind of view. So right now I'm going to want the teacher view because I want to be able to see the interaction as it's coming in. Click on that. And it's using the same code from before, but you would just broadcast this join code. So you would tell them to go to the joinpd.com website and then type in these letters for them to be able to access it. All right. And I hope you were able to see that because I can't really tell what you are seeing. You probably couldn't see that just now, could you? Let me do that again. I want, where'd it go? Share this tab instead. Okay, sorry about that. So once you actually start the session, which I would go to my drive, I would find the one I want to use. I'm actually using the ones already in the session right now. I would click it. I would choose to start a live session or student pay session, which I said I didn't go into asynchronous, but it would be a whole other session itself. Start a live session. And then this is the code that they would have to go to this website and then type in this code, and that's how they would get it. Now you can see you can invite an entire class. You can also give them a link to participate. Once you have this going, you could go to your teacher dashboard and follow along. All right. Too many tabs open. All right. I'm going to leave this up for another minute, and if there's any other questions. All right, seeing none, I'm going to end the session now. So thank you all again for joining me, and you know how to find me if you need me. Thank you.